All right, Your Honor, all of the jurors are back in the courtroom, present and accounted for, and defense counsel and plaintiff counsel are present and in attendance. Give me one moment to just ensure that Ms. Hayes's telephone is also unmuted along with her camera being turned on. All right,
Okay.
Your Honor. I believe that all are present and accounted for.
All right, well, welcome back from the break. At this point in time, we will hear closing argument. Ms. Hayes, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
Okay. Deborah Mulligan and I want to thank you all for being so attentive and for participating in this trial. You've heard and seen a lot of information today, but the questions you're going to have to answer on the verdict form are actually very simple. And let me show you that. You could show the verdict form, please. The first question, was Walgreens negligent? After everything you've seen, that answer has to be yes. You heard from Carl Fieldman, an expert in safety, in how to apply safety systems that actually work. You heard him tell you why stores are required to have safety policies in place to keep the floors clean, dry, and clear. And you also heard him tell you that Walgreens itself has a policy that there shouldn't be any debris or dirt on the floor. Unfortunately for Deborah Mulligan, they didn't have any procedures in place to make sure the floors were kept clean and safe. And you also heard him tell you that clearly, since there was dirt that Ms. Mulligan slipped on, they failed in their obligation to keep the floors clean and safe. The second question, was that negligence a cause of Ms. Mulligan's injury? Of course it was. She clearly slipped on something. The defense's argument that she just tripped over her own feet just doesn't make sense. When you watch her actions and the cashier's actions after she slipped, that video is clear. She turned around and said, "I slipped on something." She went over to look at what she slipped on. She pointed it out to the cashier, who went to get her broom and sweep up the debris. And then she dumped what she swept into the trash can. She even testified that, yes, there was something there to sweep. Finally, was Ms. Mulligan herself negligent? And that one is absolutely no. She was doing what every other shopper would be doing. What the store wanted her to do. She was looking at merchandise. She was purchasing merchandise. That's her job as a shopper. But Walgreens wasn't doing their job. They weren't doing what they're required to do. Keep their customers safe from hazards that don't need to be there. Thank you. We could stop sharing. Walgreens markets itself as a trusted neighborhood pharmacy. Each day, tens of thousands of people walk through those stores, trusting not just the products and the employees, but the environment of the store itself. Those people are entitled to trust that the walkways to the store are safe, and that's not asking a lot. And if a store does not provide a safe walkway and as a result someone's hurt, the store is responsible for that harm. It's not okay to put this kind of pressure on their cashiers. It's not okay for them to just say, hey, keep the floors clean, without giving staff the resources, the training, or time to do so. It's not okay for them to care more about boosting impulse purchases than about protecting their customers. Hold them accountable. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Friedenthal, would you like to address the jury?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I appreciate the time that you've committed to this trial and the time that you'll commit to your deliberations. And on behalf of Walgreens, I want to thank you. This has been a very short trial, and I will keep my closing comments brief. The video that you saw doesn't lie, didn't lie. The video doesn't forget important facts, and facts matter. And the video doesn't embellish what actually happened. It's a clearest reflection of what happened that we have, and that there is. Mr. Brooks, can you pull up Exhibit 74, the still sequence? We're going to take you through just those few critical steps here leading up to the stumble. Mr. Brooks, if you can take us through that. You'll see here the plaintiff starting to walk toward the water and juice case. You'll see that the floor there is glistening and looks as clean as anywhere else in the area, including in back of the stand. You'll see her suddenly veer to the left, and then something happens there. What happened there has nothing to do with Walmart's floor policy, some falling down on the job by Miss Jackson, or anything else. This is simply an accident where someone misstepped. Couldn't be clearer. There is no 8-inch pile of debris. And I think we all know what happened here. The accident had nothing to do with any policy or vagueness of any policy that Walgreens had their employees follow. They were told that cleaning the floor is everyone's job. And everyone's job does not mean that it's nobody's job. And in the brief video that you saw during the trial, you even saw Ms. Jackson go from behind her area where she was a cashier because she was so diligent to another area that wasn't even being used to clean up over there. And when she did that, don't you think that if she had seen something on the floor walking through there, she would have swept it up? Now this still that we have here, which is still part of Exhibit 74, shows Ms. Jackson walking back after the fall, after the stumble, with the dustpan. And this is before she sweeps up anything in the sequence. And you can clearly see there some debris in the dustpan. And you remember Ms. Jackson, Ms. Mulligan testifying that she didn't know if there was debris in the dustpan before or not. And she didn't know that Ms. Jackson had previously swept. And that's what the explanation here is. Ms. Mulligan saw the dustpan and figured that that's what was swept up, when in fact it had come from a different area and predated the accident. You heard from the expert called by the defendant, Mr. Sanders. He was very clear in his opinions that Walgreens did nothing wrong, cashier did nothing wrong, and this was simply a misstep. And your job will be very easy when you go into the deliberation room. And Mr. Brooks, can you call up the verdict form and focus on question number 1? And I would ask you, well, that in question number 1, they're asking whether Walgreens was negligent. And here's what I would propose. Mr. Brooks got a little bit ahead of me there, but I would propose that if you see an 8-inch pile of dirt on the ground, then you can mark that. I suggest that you mark it affirmatively and say that Walgreens did something wrong if you see an 8-inch pile of debris in that video. If you don't see it, then we know that Ms. Mulligan was not truthful. She was looking for a reason as to why she stumbled forward and was simply trying to play the blame game. And I would urge you to put a check mark in the no column on question 1, and then let the judge and the bailiff know that you have reached a verdict. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you have a rebuttal, Ms. Hayes?
No, Your Honor.